And that means it's time for the lightning round. First up, bacon. Bacon is basically all the meat that's taken from the connective tissue between the rib cage and the pelvis, which includes the abs, the side muscles, and then the stabilizers in back and either side of the spine. The reason why bacon is so delicious is because it's the muscles combined with the subcutaneous fat without any bones, which means that it fries up absolutely delicious. You can also have bacon that comes from other animals, duck bacon, for example, or beef bacon or bison bacon, which is also pretty good. The basic idea is the same. Meat with a high fat content means that it grills up nice. Okay? Satyrs. Satyrs are very interesting mythological creatures. The basic idea is you've got the top of a man with horns, and then you've got the bottom of a goat. And the thing about satyrs is that they're constantly horny. Mostly in all the depictions that you find in the ruins, of like on the urns and stuff like that, satyrs are depicted as having raging boners constantly. And they're usually chasing some nymph. Now I should point out here that satyrs are not the same thing as fauns. Mr. Tumnus, the guy from Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, he's a faun. Fauns stay in one area. They're like the little demigod of the little zone of the woods. Satyrs are running all over the place, and they're usually rolling with either Pan, who's the big trickster god of the woods, or they're the entourage for Bacchus, who's the god of getting drunk and doing crazy stuff. The deal with the satyrs is they're very aggressive, they're very lusty, they're very bawdy, they're very forward. But if you like threaten them or like they feel like they're not going to be in a position to win, they're very cowardly, and they'll just kind of like say ha ha and then run off and go molest somebody else. Satyrs are actually, they're one of the two main types of plays that people made back in ancient Greece. The big idea back then was you'd have, all the cities would have their big playwright, and they would have annual competitions at the Feast of Dionysus, where all the playwrights would write 3 tragedies about real heavy stuff, and then one satyr play to kind of liven the mood between these like weepy tear fests. Now the satyr plays, very few of them have survived because of repressive cultures that have thought that they weren't such a great thing. It's understandable why there haven't been that many satyr plays that have survived. All the greats wrote them, Aeschylus, Sophocles, everybody. But they're absolutely filthy, totally dirty, okay? Some of the fragments that we have are a bunch of satyrs kind of arguing over who gets to gang rape Helen first, Helen of Troy. Another one involves a satyr tricking the baby Perseus into jacking him off. They're adult themes, but they're also important theater. Remember, satyrs originally, people thought that orangutans were satyrs, so they gave them the name Simia Satyris. Then later they changed their name and went with Pongo Borneo. I think Simia Satyris is better, but then I have a weakness for alliteration. Disclaimer, one Halloween back in college, I did go as a satyr. Now, Diatomaceous Earth. Diatomaceous Earth is basically, it's a kind of rock that's been pulverized, that's made out of the shells, the fossilized shells of these little teeny tiny little guys, little critters that live in the ocean called diatoms. Now, their shells are kind of calcareous, and they have this weird property. When you put a little bit of this dust of their shells onto an insect, the shell dust interacts with the waxy cuticle that surrounds them and breaks it down. Now, the insects need that cuticle, it's like a waxy layer, around their outer shell because it keeps moisture from being able to escape. It can't get through the wax. If the diatomaceous earth breaks down the wax, then they lose all their moisture and they dehydrate, which is tragic for the insect, but good for whoever owns the food that the insect is trying to eat. I was asked this by my mother, who actually has far too much diatomaceous earth because she was given it by her mother. And I would recommend to my mother that she send it to me because I have a bunch of children in my classroom who do not understand the connection between leaving food in weird places in the classroom, under the desk, in the sink, under the sink, all the places that you wouldn't think to look for it, but cockroaches know exactly where they are. They don't make the connection between leaving food out and having cockroaches at their tables. But then if they knew everything, I guess they wouldn't be at school now, would they? Lastly, bathing suits. Bathing suits are basically equal parts nudity taboo and sublimated fear of having fish nibbling at your bits. Well, that's that. Maybe in the future we'll move past the nudity taboo, but we're always going to have the problem with fish nibbling at our bits. Until maybe sometime in the future we evolve to not have bits anymore. But then what else? Alright, well that's my food, so I'll talk to you later. Let me know what you like to learn.